Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading, and welcome back. If you're tuned in again for our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, if you're brand new, welcome. And if you're not subscribed, please do so we can bring you more stories or articles like we're going to here today. I have with me my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Chris is fresh back from the Pines. Nice to see you, and
Yeah,
welcome
good
back
good
to
to be
the
back to the
welcome back to
desert.
the world with all the flatlanders, as they say. So.
That's right.
All right. Well, we still were able to stay in contact with you when you were away. Hope you enjoyed your
Yeah,
time.
that was nice. Thank you.
And we're this is this first article we're going to look at here, Chris, is sadly and unfortunately not a shocker, number one, but number two, this is a reality that
Yeah.
literally our nation is living right now. And this coming from the Economic Collapse blog, which we've used them before.
Mhm.
But this is staggering. A 28 item grocery order from Target that cost $64.50 in 2020 is now $158.30 in 2026, 6 years later.
Yeah.
So we're talking huge, more than doubling, basically one and a half times or two times more than what it was in the year 2020. And this is just an example of one family. And what they did is they found an old receipt from 2020 and went back into Target in this case and built the same grocery cart again. And the exact same items cost that much more money. And
Yeah.
the point that they mention in here, and this is something that we've been talking about for a while, there's no, in fact, they make the comment in here, and I don't know if this is substantiated or not, but um they said not one member of Congress has looked at a grocery receipt in decades. And
Yeah.
again, that may or may not be true, but based on Congress's, will say, their inaction, I would say it probably is true. Like, if they knew this was going on, you would hope that there would be some kind of effort to kind of fix or change things a little bit. But it's not even being addressed. It's not even being talked about. And so this is something where, we already know people are buying groceries on credit cards now, not because they want to, but because they have to. We've had elderly people
Yeah.
having to go back to work. I mean, there doesn't seem to be like there's going to be any let up or end in sight for this progression and trend, because it'd be one thing if we just stopped at that, $158 mark, but it's getting worse literally each day, it seems.
Yeah. It's a great idea. Part of me wants to go back and look at some of my old orders and now and do this same thing. And then the other part of me wants me to try to remain somewhat ignorant about it because of how depressing it is. But it's real. My daughter was traveling and got home this weekend and said she wanted some chicken soup, right? Homemade chicken soup. So I went to the store just to buy the ingredients I needed for that. And mind you, I had all of the spices and all the common things you just keep in your pantry. But I spent $46 just to buy the ingredients to make soup.
Wow.
Maybe eight small cups of soup, eight servings, something like that. So
Wow.
this inflation is real, and I do believe everybody going to the grocery store has already felt it and is aware of it. And Congress, I'm sure some of them still shop for their own groceries, but if they're making millions of dollars with insider trading on the side, maybe they're not concerned about their grocery bill so much. But it's a real issue, and what I found more concerning in this article, because it's a great headline, but it really goes into how everything is becoming unaffordable. And so it's
Right.
not just the groceries, it's rents. They were talking about rent in a one bedroom apartment in New York is over $5,000 a month, and 5 years ago it was around, I think they said 2,600 or something like that. So rents are going up. Families are having to rely on debt to pay for their groceries and maybe their electric bills. And that's going to start stacking up. We're already seeing increased foreclosures on homes, up 20%. That's a big number, a 20% increase in people that are going to be potentially losing their homes. We have energy costs on the rise, before the Iran war and certainly continuing. I read also that we're down to about 40 days of reserves in our petroleum reserves, which is the lowest level we've been at in, it was something like 50 or 60 years. So we've
Sure.
got a bunch of problems that are putting financial pressure on all of us regular people, regular consumers. And the real concern is if this continues to stack like this, it's not just the groceries or the rents or the energy costs, it's all of it combined. And that could push us into conditions really similar to 2008, 2009, when we had the big housing crisis.
Right. Right. Well, and look, they did a poll or a survey where what they found about two-thirds, 66% of Americans, they say they would describe the cost of groceries as unaffordable.
Yeah,
Now, unaffordable is not expensive.
right.
Unaffordable means we can't afford to do this. We can't keep up with it. And they talk about, people have had to, cut back on certainly like discretionary things they might do, like entertainment, et cetera, but
Hmm.
also on food and on eating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, we're
Yep.
not talking about like, and not just talking about like going out to eat a little less
Restaurants.
often. Like, right, we're talking about like not eating, like you just said, to go to make homemade soup,
Yeah.
to be
Chicken
looking
soup.
at
This
chicken
was not
soup,
lobster, right?
right? And be looking at something that would be, in the better part when you include everything, $50. It's outrageous. And again,
Yep.
it's not being addressed. Well, that's where
Yeah.
as we go into our second article here, um, this one, from CNBC. The title here, Economic Outlook is Worsening, which, yes, we've been watching it get worse and worse and worse over the last few years now. And Trump is getting blamed. This is according to this CNBC survey. Well, and look, it's not uncommon for the sitting president to,
Right.
be blamed when things aren't going well in the economy. Um, unfortunately, they were already not going well when he walked into this economy. Is he
Yeah.
doing things to, improve it, change it, help it? I mean, like even in the previous article, Chris, they talk about how, many people look at, okay, well, the explanation, let's say, that some would give is that the price of goods and groceries has gone up as a direct result of what the war and all that's going on with the fight over oil right now in the strait. Well, that this has happened and has been happening well before that. But
Yeah.
you know what? At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. What matters is it's happening. And
Mhm.
what matters is that something needs to get done about it. And as I read this article, they do talk about how Trump is getting blamed in part, but then Congress, the Democratic-driven Congress, is also, not looked at all that much more favorably or better. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, let's forget about if it's Trump. Let's forget about it if it's Congress. Let's talk about what can we do to, provide or present some kind of a solution to this, because something does need to give at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, I don't know if you said the number or not, but it said 61% of Americans have a negative outlook on the economy in here. So, well over half. And you're right. Whoever is in office is going to catch that blame. And, I'm sure some of President Trump's policies have helped the situation and quite possibly some have hurt it. So how it all shakes out, usually we don't know the true results of a president's term until well after they've left office. Only time will tell if he's going to be looked upon as doing favorable things or more good than bad in this term. And I don't mean that to be a criticism for everybody online to beat me up about not supporting Trump. I actually think he's done a great job overall. And you're right, he can only work with the tools that he has, and he was already left a very bad situation coming out of COVID. But at the end of the day, when people are going to vote, if the bulk of the country has a negative outlook and they don't like the way things are going, even if they don't necessarily have faith in the Democrat Party, they may vote there just simply for change because a lot of people don't really know what to believe when they're listening to the news, because you can find articles and broadcasts that uh, show both sides of the coin, right? And so depending on who you're listening to, a lot of times that shapes your opinions. But if people are feeling pain financially and they don't feel any improvement and they're worried that they're not going to see improvement, they may vote for the other side just simply for a change. Whether or
Sure.
not that will work, remains to be seen. But that's a real concern going into the midterm elections.
Right. Right. And that's the problem though too, because again, you have Congress and you have President Trump who forget about the fact that by and large they don't get along really. They're not addressing the issue
Yeah.
whatsoever. And it is an issue that needs to be addressed. And keep in mind, from a podcast we did a few weeks ago, this increase in groceries, which affects everybody, and that's
Hmm.
just the grocery, the target list we talked about in the earlier article.
Yeah.
you know that's happening when we have, I forget the exact number, but something like 11, uh what was the it's more than 11 million. It's like 111 million that are no longer in our labor force. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Right. Yep.
111 million no longer in our labor force. So my point being, you have people who they're not considered in the unemployment numbers anymore, but they're not working. If
Yeah.
you're not working, it makes those higher grocery bills even that much more challenging. So,
That's right. Yep.
all right. Well, thank you, Chris. And for those of you tuned in, if you haven't received a free copy of our report, The Secret War on Cash, you can do that by calling or texting us at 1-800-289-2646 or visit us online at www.swissamerica.com. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to talking to you more in the future. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.